Om. 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 Om Saishwaraya Vidmahe Satyadevaya Dhimahi Tanna Sarva Prachodayat. Om Saishwaraya Vidmahe Satyadevaya Dhimahi Tanna Sarva Prachodayat. Om Saishwaraya Vidmahe Satyadevaya Dhimahi Tanna Sarva Prachodayat. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Offering my humble salutations at the divine lotus feet of our beloved Swami, I welcome you to today's satsang. So we have come to the 23rd chapter of Bhagavata Vahini. So before starting today's chapter, we can have a brief recap of previous chapter. So the previous chapter we have seen the adventures of Arjuna, especially he takes permission of Dharmaraja and goes into the Gandhamadana mountains to perform penance in order to fetch some celestial weapons from Devatas. And while meditating, he confronts a wild boar, followed by a tribal hunter, his wife, and his retinue. So there would be a fierce battle that ensues between Arjuna and that bill, that hunter. With all his might, Arjuna fights the hunter and he loses. Even he starts wrestling with the hunter, even then he loses. And finally, when he surrenders to Krishna, Krishna, please help me. Till then, he would fight with all his might, identifying himself with his might, with his archery skills and all. He fights with the hunter. But finally, when he surrenders to Krishna, then itself, the true form of that bill and his wife and the entire retinue appears. They're nothing but who, no, Shiva and Parvati and Bhutaganas. Even we learned that in spirituality, in fact, losing is winning. The more we lose, what we identify with many other things which we are not supposed to, the moment we lose them, actually we win. In case of world, the more we acquire, we think that we are winning. More the wealth, I'm a better off. More degrees, I'm more educated, no, better off than other people. But whereas in spirituality, you should not identify with anything. You just have to be. That's when the grace is showered. That's what we have learned in our previous chapter. Moreover, we even have learned that God, of course, appears to us in all the forms. Each and every form, Bhagavan says, no, each and every form is mine only. It is our ignorance that we, degrade some people, upgrade some people, quite, respect some people and disrespect some people based on their, whatever, the wealth they have or the education, or if they're disadvantaged, we consider them to be more disadvantaged, like that. But we come to know that God can come to us in any form, just like Arjuna confronted him in the form of a hunter who was uneducated, who was a kind of a rustic in terms of Arjuna's knowledge. But he would, when he loses completely to him, that's when he understands that it was Shiva. So when he loses that ego, when he surrenders to Krishna, that's when he gains that Pasupatashra from Arjuna. So these are all the stories actually being narrated by Vyasa to Parikshit. In fact, if you look at the interesting part of Bhagwan's narration of Bhagavata Vahini is till this chapter, even today's chapter, till today's chapter, we even haven't started the traditional Bhagavatam. If you look at the traditional Bhagavatam, it starts from the curse of Parikshit. Till now, we didn't start that actually. So that's the where we need to ponder upon why Bhagwan didn't start. Bhagavata Vahini is telling, but he started especially the story post-war, and he's focusing more. When Lord writes about devotees, he glorifies devotees, and that too he knows the innermost recesses of the heart of all the devotees. He glorifies them. So he has been describing the mighty of Pandavas, the might of Pandavas, the majesty of the character of Parikshit, especially though he was born. By the time he was born, his father was no more, and even in no time, Pandavas also left for their final exit. In spite of that, he became a very, I would say, dharmic young man who had immense love for his subjects, an immense love for the law and order, for administration. As soon as he gets an inkling of idea that somewhere Kali has entered his kingdom, he himself starts a journey to see that not even iota of injustice or any kind of aberration is found in the behavior or the demeanor of his subjects. So he was having that love like a mother and strictness like a father, and above all his unconditional love, immense devotion to Krishna. And because of his immense devotion to Krishna, he was just listening to his stories. He was relishing stories, from whoever he was listening them, whether it's from Pandits or whether it was being told by even a normal subjects. He was listening to them keenly. So that's what happens when our heart is full of devotion. At one point of time, we don't judge. We don't judge the speaker. We don't look at the biodata of the speaker who is speaking. Oh, he's talking about Krishna. We just love to listen, whoever it may be. That's how Ramakrishna Paramhamsa, whenever he used to hear, there used to be a domestic help next door. She used to call her son Govinda, Govinda sometimes. Just by listening to that Govinda, Ramakrishna Paramhamsa used to sob, used to go into trance. Govinda, what is it? Govinda, Govinda. And that very name used to take him to Samadhi. So that's what. So when our heart is full of that devotion, that love, we never ever don't look for the validity of the source or anything. I just want to listen to Krishna. I just want to listen to Swami. That's it. So here we need to ponder that why Swami has taken 23 chapters. He wants to say that we are all worried, what will happen in my final moment. But Bhagwan is telling, you develop character like Pandavas. You develop character like Parikshit, devotion like them. Then automatically, your exit is taken care of. If you look at the exit of Parikshit, which actually starts from the next chapter, Sukha comes to him. He tells the stories of the Lord. But how did he gain? How did Parikshit become qualified? Is all this we have learned in these 23 chapters. Because of his love towards his work, love towards God, and because of character, and he was that penchant, the thirst for listening to the stories of God, he purified himself and he became qualified for the moksha. And that's when the final thing, the last seven crash course was given for him, the 7 days. So finally, his soul is liberated. He becomes a witness to his own death. That's what Swami wants us. Character is power. Most of the time, we always think that knowledge is power and all that. But Bhagavan wants in all these 23 chapters. So he even shows, this kind of grace that he has showered on them is immense because of their devotion, because of their character. So here he is emphasizing that character is power. So today we'll see an episode where Bhagwan or God, how he saves the devotees in the battlefield. Of course, it's the battlefield in Kurukshetra. Also, this battlefield of life. We are also in a battlefield. And who else is the guardian? Who else is the charioteer? The Sanatana Sarathi is he himself. Today, along with me, Brother Surya is joining me. So we'll have a discussion on this chapter. At the end of this session, probably all the listeners can join us, sharing your insights and thoughts. So probably I would ask Brother Surya to start today's story so that I can, in between, I'll add somewhere. Over to Brother Surya.
Sairam brother, Sairam everyone, very, very warm good evening. My humble pranams at Swami's Divine Lotus Feet. As Brother Suman was guiding us through, the various insights, and of course, the very, very surprising thing when I personally started reading the Bhagavatha Vahini was all about, okay, fine, Seth Sukha is there, and our Parikshit, and what is that magical crash course that we are talking about, where we can also not just maybe, we probably haven't seen Vyasa, the great sage, or maybe Arjuna, or maybe Krishna. But the fact that we are reading, the fact that we are listening, whether optically we haven't been able to actually witness the magic, but at least auricularly, through the years, we are able to contemplate on these divine stories and stuff. So when we talk about the Guardian on the battlefield, I mean, we all have read, but what I like to personally do is I like to ask myself the questions on how this is related to me. So when we are able to see that the Pandavas, they were obviously in the exile, but then suddenly Duryodhana, he tells that they had sworn that the full year had not been elapsed and the Pandavas had broken their contract. So now they were bound by a penal clause to further their 12-year exile by another further year. Now, in this case, obviously, Arjuna feels kind of weird, like that. Oh my God, how is it possible? Why? How can I fight my brothers? How can I? Is it right? Why do I have to do this? Why do I have to? Why do I have to fight my near and dear ones? And the question that I consistently ask myself while I was reading this chapter is the specific set of problems that right now I'll be a little bit selfish here and I ask myself that why is it always necessary for us to maybe stay away from the relatives with whom we don't really connect with? Why is it important for us to not really to be okay maybe with a job that we don't enjoy? Why is it okay for us to just be completely immersed in work and not try and get some kind of a work-life balance where we are choosing peace over just monetary growth or any of these stuff? Now, while we are going through this, we are able to see that the kind of gifts that the Kauravas had got, when we look at more than 100,000 foot soldiers and 65,000 plus horses and everything. And yet, on the other hand, the Pandavas just had one charioteer, and that is the Lord himself. And when we look at this analogy and we try to see whether how significant it is for us in our lives, if we are just able to observe and contemplate on this, we have all these different tools around us, right? When we look at internet, when we look at all the unlimited internet, no Wi-Fi connection and everything. And quite interestingly, now if you look at something like a chat GPT that has been doing the rounds, doing the craze, it is so easy for us to look at these wide array of in the Bhagavata Vahini, Swami has used the word Akshauhini. Probably in today's age, for us, all those other things that we have, all the tools and resources are the Akshauhini. But you see, only and only if we are accepting the Lord as our charioteer, all those Akshauhinis are going to start making sense. And this is definitely the question that I have again for Suman brother, which again, me and Suman brother, we have this very, a conversation which involves a lot of back and forth, me asking a lot of stupid questions. But the question here is definitely, why, I mean, how did Arjuna get into the state of this delirium? How did he get into this state, and why, for that matter? He had complete faith in Krishna. But then why is he still going through this whole cycle of, oh my God, why am I doing this? Why am I doing that? And how did he decide? How did Krishna really give him that counsel? And of course, through Arjuna, we are able to get that divine gospel as well through generations after generations. So yeah, Suman brother, yes, over to you.
Yeah, brother, it's nice. Yeah, you have brought out the word Akshauhini. So Akshauhini, it includes 1,09,350 foot soldiers, 65,610 horses and horsemen, 21,870 elephants and elephant warriors, and 21,870 warrior chariots. I mean, and the charioteers, whoever. So this becomes one Akshauhini. So this 11 Akshauhinis were from Kauravas side, with all the kings who have joined them. And Pandavas had 7 Akshauhinis, with all whoever like dharmic kings who thought that Pandavas were on the right side. So they joined them. And Krishna, of course, he was their charioteer. So this is the meaning of Akshauhini, basically. So now if we look at the despondency, Swami himself told why even our this thing starts with despondency, right? Bhagwat Gita, which is actually the counsel that Krishna gives to Arjuna. So it starts with Arjuna Vishada Yoga. The very first thing is all about the despondency only. If you look at all this, I would like to tell one important thing is avatars come. Basically, as Swami also many times told, God's descent is for the ascent of man. He descends all the way only to ascend the man. In spite of, if you look at Bhagwan's, even Bhagavat, these are all the Vahinis were written from 1958 till 1984. All the 15 books which we have today as Vahinis were the article series in Sanatana Sarathi. It started on Shivratri 1958 with Prema Vahini. Bhagwan took time to write himself. He could have created, he could have materialized in no time. But he took time to write each and every line by himself for 26 long years. That means there is a kind of responsibility on all of us to ponder on the kind of wisdom that it has. So also every avatar has that penchant for that. Yes, come to give that wisdom. We keep on asking all the mundane things and all, but avatar wants to shower that wisdom at the right point of time, but we don't ask him. So he has to create certain things, unless otherwise. So Krishna also came ultimately to give that wisdom. When he was born, actually, they say Krishna was born with all the, the limbs, 4 limbs, with all that, Shanku Chakra, with all the jewelry and everything. He was not born as every other baby. He was born like that. So when the parents looked, they were able to make it that it is not a normal person. It's normal, human being. It's God himself. The supreme Godhead has come. They were able to witness that. But overcome by the attachment they have for that baby, overcome by the fear that In spite of being known that, no, they're able to see that it is Godhead, but still because of the attachment to that, our son, with that attachment, what is happening? They were overcome with the fear that Kamsa may cause some danger to this kid. So they were in a worry to rush this kid to the place. That moment, Devaki could have asked, or Vasudeva could have asked for the ultimate wisdom to redeem our life. Oh, your supreme Godhead, you have come. Please tell us how to redeem our life. Give us that wisdom. God would have given. He was ready. He was ready. Who would ask? The very first point itself, by birth itself, he could have, but they didn't, because of the attachment they have towards their kid, because of the overcome by the fear, they didn't ask him. Okay, chalo. These civilized, so-called urban people, they don't have this kind of thirst for knowledge. Let me go to the innocent crowds. Let me go to the cowherd people. So he moved to Vrindavan, where all the innocent cowherd people were there. Right from the 7th day, he started showing all, his work started from 7th day itself. Putana Uddhara, actually it's called. From then on, how many demons he would have annihilated. It was like, in Bhagavatam only become hundreds and hundreds of demons were. In those 15 years I spent there in Vrindavan, he showed many times that he was not normal. He was supernormal. He was supreme Godhead. Everyone was awestruck, everyone was wondered, but still because of the attachment, our Kanha, our Krishna, our boy, with that attachment, they didn't feel like asking him the true jnana. They were able to see. 15 years he spent, and almost every moment he showed that he was supreme Godhead. But still, no one was bothered to ask him. They were more into playing with Krishna now. The love of Krishna. Okay. Then he thought, okay, 15 years I spent. Here also no one is interested in my wisdom. So he left there. Then he went to Mathura again. He killed Kamsa. He even, did a lot of miracles, especially the Kubjas, making her into the normal, beautiful woman from a deformed shape to a normal, beautiful woman. And many other, kind of things, but no one even there also bothered to ask. Finally, he found the wonderful 5 people, Pandavas. We have seen even in Bhagavad Vahini, how many times he saves Pandavas. Last even Durvasa episode he saved. How he saved Draupadi in that assembly with unlimited clothing. So everything which is they have experienced is above something which a normal man can do. He's supreme Godhead. He has been hinting every time, but even they were also not that interested. So finally, why? Because they were not, because of the attachment. Oh, our cousin only, that attachment. So mostly what happens is because of the attachment, we don't tend to see the reality. That is one thing. Second, that is the actual cause of despondency. Most of the times when there is attachment, we often, the decision making and the discrimination are compromised. I and mine, the feeling of ahankara and mamakara. Even we have seen the last chapters, because of that ego, he would never give up fight with the hunter. Finally, when he surrenders, that's when he comes to know the reality. He comes to understand what had exactly happened, that Arjuna. So main here, the reason for the despondency is, this is all Krishna's play. No, he tried many ways. He found many people, even his own guru, Sandipani also, he wouldn't ask actually. Sandipani also asked some son who was lost, who was actually left his life. He wants Krishna to bring back his life. Even he was not interested about moksha. He was not interested about this spiritual knowledge. No, for the purpose which God has come for. His own guru was also not interested. So what to do? Finally, he had to create a situation. Even he had shown his Virata Swarupa to all these people, right? During when he goes as an ambassador, he shows his Virata Swarupa, the cosmic form, to all those. Even he gives eyes to Dhritarashtra and he shows. Even after seeing also, they would not be, they would not be ready for the mission, peace. They would not be ready for the peace. So there also he tried somehow whether they would transform and they would ask. That didn't work. So finally in the battlefield, he had to create all this drama as if, this Arjuna has overcome with despondency. And that's when, as they say, happiness cannot come out of happiness. Swami always said, happiness comes out of only sorrow. So man's adversity is only God's opportunity. So that is when, on the most despondent times only, God has, a kind of opportunity to grace us, because we are in the most despondent mood. That's when actually we'll clearly understand things. Till then, because of the attachment, all these kind of things, it's unrevealed. But the moment we are so low, feeling low, slowly he takes that opportunity and he slowly starts revealing that. So that is the reason for that despondency, that feeling of attachment and mind. Why is that despondency? You can see, he even Swami clearly tells in this chapter also, it is not because of cowardice. He is not a coward to fight. Because looking at those people, my grandfather Bhishma, my own guru Drona, how can I kill those people? Because of having that attachment, he becomes despondent. And that becomes a kind of opportunity, Krishna, to bestow that spiritual wisdom, actually the actual purpose for which he has come. He had to create all that. So that's the reason for the despondency. Hope I am clear, Surya.
Yes, brother. In fact, I think just to add on to what you mentioned, just these points to for us to ponder upon. The Lord Himself, who is the Creator. I mean, we all know. In he just Lord Krishna, he just opened his mouth and the entire cosmos was evident. But then he is someone who chooses to really get down into a level where he's even blessing us with these divine gospel, just to make sure that the glory and reputation of Arjuna is heightened. It just goes to show how the Lord Himself always wants us, always pushes us towards glory, and that again it makes us feel good, but most importantly it develops it strengthens the devotion and the belief in the Lord Himself. I think there was a very interesting story just to add on to this, that when the flute was asked that how come you are so dear and near to Krishna, the flute simply said that I don't have anything inside me. So I was just a simple bamboo stick. The Lord ripped me off and then made a lot of holes in me, and then the Lord just keeps playing me, and I just surrendered to Him, and that's why probably I'm near to Him. And just the fact that we are able to immerse ourselves in Bhagavata Vahini, I think this is it makes me feel personally very good, because I think this is the only Vahini and probably the only spiritual scripture amongst all throughout cosmos where we are actually having three Mahapuranas merged into one. No? We have Mahabharata in it, we have the Bhagavad Gita in it, and of course the Bhagavata, which we will probably be getting into in the next segment. Now here, then another couple of very significant question. Then it's still it. I'm just getting that trigger, so I'm opening the same to you right now, brother. That even during that battle, and the battle you did mention that, if the Lord wanted, He could just have woven one hand, and the battle wouldn't even have taken place. Now, isn't it possible that the same kind of a battle is going inside us time and again, especially with the way things are going on, things are unfolding, like COVID happened, and then right now the recession is going on. So many people are losing their jobs. And these are the times when oftentimes I've at least seen myself question Swami so many times. Like, why are you doing this? Why do you have to do this? Why me? Why again? Why I have to lose the job? Now, while there is a battle going on out there in Kurukshetra, and Lord Krishna has been very, very generous to Arjuna, Why not be very, very generous to me? Instead, why put so much of problems in me? Give all these problems to me. And how can I see this, the way the Lord has protected the people from the wrath of Indradev by lifting the mountain Govardhan Parvat in a single little finger. We look at all these stories and then we look at our life. I mean, okay, fine, I'm also going through so much of trouble, but Lord Krishna, where are you? You're not helping me at all. So, how do we really put these things and contemplate this into maybe a proper uh, a cycle of reminders for us? Yeah.
So even if you look at, first of all, who are creating problems? We are ourselves, I think, creating problems, as here Bhagavan tells also. The main reason he told, no, that kind of attachment we have and the ahankara we have. Even Bhagavan says, no, it starts with the Vishada Yoga. He says this continues, this Vishada continues till 10th sloka of second chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Then actually it starts, the council of Krishna starts. So till then, he was, you know, this Arjuna was actually asking question, why I should suffer, why this has to happen, why I have to kill all this, that question. So it's more like as a tamoguna. Just we all have that inertia. You will just have that tamoguna. And slowly, you know, when Krishna counsels them, then he's, you know, slowly he understands and then he asks how I should do. The next kind of questions would be, how should I pacify my mind? How should I control my mind? All that comes how, the second, which he says the transformation slowly from tamoguna to rajoguna. And finally, when everything is set and everything is slowly, it moves to the sattvaguna. So this is a kind of wonderful design by Swami himself in our lives also. Like initially we'll ask why it happened, but slowly, as I told, he takes an opportunity to enter into life somehow, creating some kind of things where definitely we are totally fallen, we feel very low, we feel very lost, and slowly he takes over. He needs certain opportunity, as I told here, he needs that opportunity to enter into our life. Mostly, as we said, when attachment is there, many things suffer. Even person who is attached, even he would not be able to, most of the times we see many surgeons, they would not be able to treat their own children. They would ask someone else to perform the surgery. And even if you look at, sometimes I think you might have watched the movie Dangal, where Amir Khan, played the role of, it is a true story of a father who was a wrestler who would be very harsh on his daughter, on both of his daughters. He would design a regimen early in the morning and it would be very harsh, which would not, their mother would not be able to see that. She goes, and why you're so harsh on our daughters? He says that no, I'm not harsh on our daughters, I'm harsh on my students. I cannot play both the roles same time. So what exactly makes us weak is, so if in all these cases is the attachment. And because of the attachment, we fall into this kind of, and sometimes, yeah, even we develop ego also, maybe because of the attachment to our, the posts which we hold or the wealth which we have, we develop even the ahankara, ego, the I and mine, the feeling I, as Anil Kumar said, explains as it's a bloating tire. It's bloating, and somewhere we have to wait for God to puncture it. So this is that puncture moment. We have bloated a lot, and we are in such a despondent mood because we don't know. We have created all this with all our attachment. We fell into that Maya. This is all Maya, all about. So God needs that opportunity somewhere. And that's when. So even if we look at all this all happens within us. The Kauravas and Pandavas, as Swami told, this is not somewhere outside. It is very much inside. And he is there. He is assuring us, I know I am the charioteer for all of you. But he needs certain, as I told earlier also, once Vivekananda asks Ramakrishna, why I am not able to see God as you are able to see? Then he takes him to the water, he dips him in the water. Finally, he gasps for air, breath. Then he would ask what you actually thought, what you really want that time when I dipped you. So I said, badly, I wanted air. I could not breathe. So if that badly, if we need God, that's when actually he showers us. So I think despondency, or when we are in the most nadir of life, the lowest point of life, I think that's where really we yearn. We'll be fed up with everything. We really yearn for that comes. So to bring that yearning, God has to create all this in our life also. He'll take us to nadir of the life, because that's how Vivekananda is gasping for breath. We should gasp for Lord, and that is the right point actually to bestow the wisdom. Till then, yeah, we have to be part, instrument, or a kind of a character, or we should play in this wonderful drama or a movie he has designed for all of us. So for that reason, yeah, all this happens. So till that, even if you question why also, yes, he will answer one day why, but he'll take us to that one particular point, the saturation point, where we are about the breaking point, I should say, where we are about to break. That's when he lifts up. Even Swami tells in Bhagavad Vahini also, it's my, Krishna's job is to lift, and he'll drop the devotees. So anytime anything can happen with us, he's actually playing a kind of, as Bhagavan himself said, when you're full with air, everyone can hit you. Once you lose that air, that's when no one bothers you. Football, it's full of air, then you receive all the hits. When you don't have that air, the air of ego is lost, then no one bothers you. So that is the thing which Bhagwan takes opportunity in our lives also. Hope I'm clear in this.
Yes, brother. In fact, I'm just reminded of this beautiful thing Anil Kumar sir mentioned during the recent talk in the National Leadership Program induction. It was, I think, day two, and Anil Kumar sir beautifully is describing his episodes when he was being made the principal of the Whitefield campus, all the way from being the president of the Andhra Satyasai Seva organization. And Swami asks him very beautifully that, Anil Kumar, are you enjoying the food? Oh, what, Swami? What food? I'm not at all enjoying the food. There, we used to have these spicy pickles. Here, every food is blunt. No sugar, no salt, nothing. I mean, is that food? And jail people will have better food like that. And even the temperature. He's apparently used to three temperatures: summerer, and summerest. But here, in Whitefield, he got to know, okay, there is something called as winter in India. Now, while we can always choose to complain all these kind of situation, if I take my personal example itself, the day Swami blessed me with this opportunity, in fact, 3 years later, Swami called me to Patti thanks to this NLP program. And my boss told me that, you can't go there. You got to submit your resignation. And I mean, yeah, fine. I'm going to Swami. Swami is going to take care. And I did submit my resignation. Surprisingly, I'm not feeling bad or anything. And it's so surprising that the opportunities are pouring in. But at the same time, when we talk about the surrender, the despondency, as you rightly mentioned, to be able to be aware that whatever that is happening is a part of His divine will, and each of us, He has created that individualized program, individualized journey towards understanding Him, feeling Him, experiencing Him, to be able to be in that state where we are just able to be aware of whatever that's happening around is actually for good and is guiding me in the right path. Now, having said that, when I would just like to be a little, I mean, just out of curiosity again, brother, that we spoke about the charioteer here. When Arjuna is, obviously Arjuna was the one who was showering those arrows, but Krishna was the divine charioteer here throughout the war. throughout the war. And even in this case, he did feel that that, oh my God, I'm supposed to kill all my friends, my family, my teacher, for that matter, all the people that I love. And when we have heard about Krishna's description, that the palms of Krishna is soft and tender like a rose of petals and all, had developed boils and all these things. My question here is, how much does the Lord really does love the devotee? In this case, let's just consider us, okay? As let's just put ourselves in Arjuna's position for a very tender moment, although we are nowhere anywhere even minuscule to what Arjuna is in terms of devotion or knowledge and stuff. But to what extent the Lord can go in order to protect us and guide us to the right path? If you can just shower some light on this, brother.
Yes, brother. I mean, this is like immense. When we talk about the love of the Lord, to what level he descends for our ascent, he descends to any level for that matter. Even in this story, if we have seen, at one point of time, Vyasa says that Arjuna was actually feeling very, very sad for having done that sacrilegious act almost every day for those 18 days, which he would never have imagined that he would have done to such a dearest friend of his and the Supreme Godhead who saved, that he would treat him in that way, because he becomes a charioteer where he would be on the lowest pedestal. No, Krishna is actually on the lowest pedestal, and war around is going on, lot of chaos. You would not be able to hear anything. Even if the occupant of the chariot is going to shout, he would not be able to hear anything. That's why it seems the toes have to nudge, a kind of prod. If left toe prods the left temple, it means the chariot has to go towards the left. The right toe prods the right temple of the head, then it is meant that the charioteer has to go towards the right. And if both the toes prod the temples, then it's like go straight. So you can understand. And because of that, end of the day, he would come and every day cry, seeing those scrapes on Krishna's head, on the back. And his palms were like tender palms were full, the kind of became full of sores and bruises because of holding those hard reins. Especially those horses won't be controllable. Those senses, actually, in terms, if you look at it, Bhagwan takes so much effort to control our senses. That's what it means. So if we even look at that, that much God comes down to us. He did even menial jobs. A lot of insights if you look at in this. He used to take care of those horses. He protects, actually, without the knowledge of Arjuna, he protects him from many missiles, many arrows all around, not even pricking him, and bruising his own body, bruising all the horses. So he would clean all the wounds. He would apply balms to those wounds. So which are generally considered as a menial jobs. Bhagwan many times even he exemplified. Even we have seen in a previous satsang also, he was he would caress the feet of the Lord. If you have those listeners who would remember the last satsang, even I told he had caressed the feet of the great singer Ghantasala, who was yesterday a singer. So once when he was in Parthi, Bhagwan goes all to his room when he was sleeping and he caresses his feet. And not only that, Bhagwan told many times that for the love I can do anything. He can come down to any level. I remember this, it reminds me of a story once narrated by Srimati Gita Mohan Ram. There used to be an old lady who used to sell some groundnuts outside the gate. Her name was Sakamma. So once Bhagwan goes to Sakamma, Sakamma, what do you do for living? She was abandoned by her children. So she used to sell what of those peanuts and she used to earn some living. So she said, Swami, I'm abandoned by children and I'm doing this job. So do you make enough living? She said, sometimes I do and sometimes not. Then Swami asked her, would you do? Would you serve for me? Some service would you do in ashram? She says, yes, Swami, why not? But only thing, Swami, I'm not so skillful. Only thing I have is I'm physically I'm fit. So I can do any heavy jobs if you have. So I can go and get water for you. And I can wash dishes. A lot of dishes once you finish your meal. So that kind of jobs I can do. The Swami says, yes, daily you can go and fetch water for my bath from Chitravati. And daily after my meal, you can wash the dishes. So she took up those two jobs. Every day she used to go and get water for Swami. So every day Swami was having the hot water bath. And by the time Swami's bath, time was ready, water was completely ready because she used to go and get water from Chitravati. And after Bhagwan's meal, every time she used to wash the dishes. This is her job. One day, what happened? She used to stay in ashram and not ashram. She used to stay outside only in the hut. She had a burst appendix. So one day that time, actually, Dr. Padmanabh, who was the father of Gita Mohan, and that time Gita Mohan was like a very young girl, maybe 8 years or 9 years old. So Bhagwan, told Padmanabh sir, let's go to, you need to take that lady, Sakama, she has a burst appendix. You need to take her immediately to Bangalore. And he instructs and he goes up. And suddenly again he comes down. Padmanabh, I am also coming with you. Let's go together. So it's like almost, it's not like today's roads and as a cakewalk today for us to go to Parthi. It was not those days, it was not so. So early morning if you start, maybe it will take some 10 hours to reach Bangalore. It was like that. So they started morning around 10 or something like that in car. Padmanabh sir was driving car and Swami was sitting next to him, and behind this lady was laying in the seat and her head was in the lap of Gita Mohan Rao, who was a young girl that time. So they were going. So those days were not like normal, no, roads were bad and every time car used to give trouble. And whenever car used to stop, all these people, those ignorant and innocent villagers used to throw stones at this car. So they have this. So in spite of all that, car stopped many times and Bhagwan would get down and he would push the car. And then slowly for some distance it would go and again it will stop, break down. Again Swami gets down and he pushes the car, he himself. And he would, in between, he says, Amma, Ochesam, Ochesam, we have come. Sakama, we have come, don't worry. We have come, don't worry. So he would always say that. Just then they started. But he would actually pacify her also. She was having that full pain of burst appendix, you can understand. And like that, so in that, with all these conditions, Swami was getting down and pushing the car, getting down and pushing the car. So all this went on and they reached finally evening 7 o'clock to Bangalore. So they went to Double Road. That time there was a Kalappa nursing home. He was one of the famous doctors that time. So Swami, somewhere the Sunday evening it was. So even I think he was not in practice also. So he directly went and he just opened the door and in front he was seeing Padmanabh sir and Swami standing. It was like motionless. And she was brought and Swami told that she had a burst appendix and you need to operate. Like off the sudden Sunday evening, somebody comes and directly start operating means he was more, he was actually shaking. He was trembling with fear. So don't worry, you do. Swami has given him assurance, don't worry. And he said today is Sunday, anesthesia is not available. We have to give her anesthesia. Then Swami just materialized Vibhuti, applied on her. So he said, you do your operation. She would lie on bed how much ever time you want. She would not wake up. So it almost the entire surgery took like around, they came in 7 and almost like 11 o'clock, 4 hours that operation took. And finally, and Bhagwan was waiting all the way. He didn't go. Padmanabh sir was telling, Swami, you can go to Vrindavan. I'll talk to Ram Ramam Garu. He will take care. He was, no, I have to stay here. I have to see. Once she's fine and then only I'll go. Then 11 o'clock, she was there, and slowly she came back to senses. Everything was fine. Then she was sobbing, Swami, what trouble I gave you. Because of me, all the way you left Pati and came, and it was such a tedious job for you all the while. He said, what all in front of what you have done to me, Sakama? No, every day you used to get water for me. Not even one day it was delayed. No water was delayed for my bath. Not even one day someone else washed my dishes. In front of all that, what is this? It's nothing. And she was sobbing more. When God actually talks like that, the Supreme Godhead, who can create anything in one hand, entire universe plays with one hand, has come all the way for one old lady who sells peanuts because she served him. I think the tales like this go on and on. Not even that, even we have even know that story where Bhagavan goes and pacifies those water buffaloes because having served him water in Madanpalli all the way, they used to go downtown and get the water. And Bhagavan would even talk to them, talk to those water buffaloes, those buffaloes, he buffaloes, caressing them. Thank you so much for what you have done. And both of buffaloes were crying as if they've understood. So his love for each and every, not just humans, for him, animate or inanimate, everything is love. Love of Lord is like that. We cannot ever we cannot fathom the depth of his love. That is the beauty of his love. So for the sake of devotee, he would do anything. So what actually Bhagavan is telling in this episode is like, for your sake, for your ascent, I'll come down to any level. Here Arjuna was almost daily hitting him. The scrapes happened on his head, but still he was happily. And one more message here is that whatever role Krishna played, whatever role even here Swami played, he did what all he did. He constructed many projects, he constructed institutions. And at the same time, he did this to this old lady, and all without any kind of identity to anything, just as love. That's what Swami teaches. Love without duty is divine. When we are doing with love, whatever the duty it may be menial in the eyes of the world, doesn't matter. That's what Swami is saying is, don't identify yourself with anything. When you're supposed to do the job, do it with love. It becomes divine. Doesn't matter whether it is a professional work or your personal work or any other work where you need to consider, or maybe it is menial in your eyes. Doesn't matter. That's what here Krishna is telling us. Swami is telling us in a number of incidents where he did that. Even we even knew one story, right, where Bhagwan would come as a lady who would clean the filth, he would clean the feces of an old lady, which we have described in previous satsangs, and how he graces students. Then his Swami says, for love, I can do anything. I can come down to any level. So in our life also, to grant us that wisdom, to make us realize, he'll show everything by example. He'll not just instruct and leave. He shows everything by example. Whatever avatar, every avatar has shown by example. And we have very many wonderful stories. I think that once that love of Lord, if we consider, I think it will never end. It's a never-ending thing. So ultimately, we need to understand, everything what does God has a message in it. So in this, God can come down to any level for a devotee. That is one thing we are learning. Second, whatever the job or whatever the role that he has given us in the life, sometimes it may be the higher in terms of eyes of the world. Sometimes it may be menial, whatever. Do it with love. Do it with devotion. It becomes divine. That's it, period. There's no other thing. It becomes divine. Doesn't matter what the work is. Hope I'm clear in this, brother.
Yes, brother, absolutely. And the best part is, I think we are all able to connect with this so much. Just to one very interesting activity which I remember our convener, sir, ex-convener of our Samiti, which is there in Kolkata. I remember it was just these initial days. I had just cleared my 12th standard and I was going to the Samiti just to conduct these little spoken English classes. So back then I was never, didn't even believe in Swami and even God for that matter. I would just ask him, yeah, you keep telling about Swami, Swami, Swami. How can I really feel his presence? How can I feel Swami? And he had given me a Swami's photograph and he just said that, start talking to him. Just start talking to him. Look at the photo and think that you're talking to him. Now, while that activity turned out to be very, very mundane, but surprisingly, maybe not initially, but then when I would actually look at the photo and I would start talking, I'm having this problem, that problem, what should I do? How can I solve it and all? There would be a very, very faint kind of a whisper from within. And this is one activity with an exercise that stood strong with me up until this moment. In fact, back in 2017 end, I mean, just before the time I met Suman brother for the first time, again, Swami's grace, there was this bout of depression and I was almost about to commit suicide. In fact, there was this moment when I just walked up to my hostel building late in the evening around 9:30, 9:45 time and I was ready to jump. But then I was reminded of that activity all over again. So I always had a Swami's photo with me in my phone and all. I just took out that photo and I just started communicating one last time before giving up. No, and soon I realized the conversation actually turned out right till early morning, and dawn broke. The sun rose, and I just walked up to my hostel and slept. So it's the love. At times we are not even able to comprehend how Swami can just connect with us and really shower us in that thing. But still, that point of the point of the charioteer, as we rightly mentioned, as Suman brother mentioned, that it's him who is always ready to take control of our life if we just let him, and if we just are able to continue to have that conversation with him time and again. But then I'm very, very curious, brother. This is not fair, isn't it? I mean, 23 chapters are done, and still we didn't get that crash course. I mean, is Swami testing our patience here? What is happening? Like, if you can just enlighten us on this as well.
Swami is actually guiding us, I would say, like how you should develop. No? As I told, character is power. You should become like Parikshit. No, you should become eligible for that. No, Parikshit was not just like that. He didn't get that crash course. That too from Shuka, who is a Brahmagnani himself. He was a Gnani, epitome of Jnana himself was Shuka. So he himself coming and telling those stories was not an, the kind of blessing which normal everyone would get. So that's why Bhagwan even emphasized from story to story, how this Parikshit's character and even the Pandavas, even other characters like Kauravas, how they themselves paved the way for their own destruction with all the thing. So Bhagwan mainly focuses 23 chapters. He mainly emphasized for us. I think in the next satsang, I'm not going for the next chapter. We'll have a revision of all. We will revisit all these 23 chapters again with all the insights that we have covered in all the previous satsangs because it is required, I feel, because the next actual Bhagavatam is starting next, which are the stories actually. But till then, Bhagwan is, yes, in the form of stories himself, he gave a lot of emphasis on the devotion and the character of a person, especially in Parikshit and all. So I think he's indirectly hinting us, you need to develop your character like this. You need to develop the kind of, the purity that these souls carried. And finally, they became eligible for, the greatest blessing, which I want to shower. So they made themselves eligible for that. So he wants every devotee of his to become eligible for that thing. So till then, yeah, we need to revise these 23 chapters in our life every time till we go to that. And yeah, death can come in any manner. Ultimately, whether you call it curse or whatever, it's a blessing only. Whatever Swami, we'll again, when we discuss the next chapters, we'll understand whether it's a curse or a blessing or what exactly it is. That we'll see in the next chapters. But basically, I would say that we need to, again and again keep reading these 23 chapters and understand more the magnanimity of these characters, magnanimity of the kind of devotion each of them carried. And slowly, little, at least we try to imbibe that in our lives, at least, that little one step. And Bhagwan is ready to take the rest of the steps. That's for sure, no doubt about it. So let us, I think in next satsang, which will be on April 2nd, we'll just have a revision of all the 23 chapters till now, highlighting all the insights which we have covered in all the 23 chapters, and make ourselves ready for that final crash course, which will be there, in Bhagavath Vahini finally. Anything you would like to share, or any insights, any more insights that you got from this chapter?
Yes, one small little final element, which I think, as just simply observing this whole aspect, this again, it always acts as a perfect reminder for us, which I feel personally for me, and I'm sure for all of us here, that uh, the Lord is always there. The omnipresence and omniscience, omnipotence, every single moment. And at times we are all carried away, we all forget, especially during the moments of trouble, losing a job, losing a loved one, maybe any of these calamities that comes in. I mean, recently we had this horrible earthquake in Turkey and whatnot. But in any of these kind of states, that's when our faith is tested to its limit, beyond its limit in a few cases. But we always need to know that if he is the creator of the problems, he's only the solver of the problems. And as you rightly mentioned, that character is power. I think the character always begins with the faith. Of course, there is a debate which goes on always whether faith comes first, or experience. And I'm sure all of us present here right now, at some form or the other, have experienced him in some way or the other in its own magnanimity. Let's all constantly contemplate on that faith. Let's all contemplate on the belief that he is the one who's always there to solve. And let's just contemplate upon, instead of the why this has happened to me, focusing on the how can I get out of it? How can I seek how can I surrender to you completely to get away from it? And as we gear up to revise all the 23 chapters, I'm sure we will have a lot of newer insights, because I mean, it's always so intriguing that the scriptures remain the same. The Bhagavat Vahini was written years and years back. We have probably read it in the past and are reading it presently, but every time, I think that's the beauty of the Mahapuranas and the sacred texts for that matter. Every time we read it, we have a newer insight, we have a newer aha moment, and somewhere at a deeper level, it just hits us. So I think that's something that we all should always focus on contemplating on. Yeah, so that would be all from my end, Saira.
Wonderful, brother. Yes, definitely these epics age with us. So as we grow spiritually inside, definitely we'll get more insights. Again, once we read this, so we never know. Probably all these past 1.5 years, I think we have been doing more than 2 years. We have been doing this Bhagavad Vahini. So probably little delta improvement might be there in spiritual side. So probably if we revisit these chapters, we'll understand. Maybe we may come with newer insights and newer thoughts. So now this our satsang is open to the rest of the listeners and all the devotees. So I would like you to share your thoughts, your insights from this chapter. Saira. I think we'll start with Parikshit, brother.
Sairam, Suman and Suridi brother, excellent discussion actually on this kind of inflection point in Bhagavata Vahini, and excellent kind of insights and you have kind of contemporized the entire chapter, 23rd chapter. I think before we come to reflection on tonight, a thought which I got is when you were talking about, and even Surya, and you said right now that how we get different insights when we read the same text again. That's the beauty of Swami's literature, is what Swami had told boys long back, and he keeps repeating it, is first it starts with knowledge. Knowledge evolves into skills. Skills must move into balance. We must achieve balance, and through balance, we get insights. So I think that has also been our journey in understanding what Swami wants us to understand. And Swami plays around with the word, saying that nowadays people kill the knowledge, so you don't get balance and you lose the insight, right? Anyway,
Yeah.
that was a small aside on that part. But yeah, coming to this chapter, yeah, like you said, how Krishna protected Arjuna. And dear Swami very vividly and graphically presents this, right? Where he says that blood flowed from Sai Krishna's body because
Yes.
of the fiery arrows which was sent by the Kaurava camp. And his only objective was to protect Arjuna from that harm, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
if we look at our own life, right, each one of us, and when I reflect on ours, I sincerely feel that in retrospect we also will make the statement, because uh, our reputation, our physical or mental makeup, like Surya very honestly mentioned his own situation, and all of us have been through these at some stage in life where we become despondent. But the beauty in, and in I referred this to some other discourse of Swami where he explains that the grief or this vishada, and as you said, Suman, chapter 1 or the main Bhagavad Gita starts with Vishada Yoga. And Swami explains it could be just Vishada. Why yoga? And that is the difference between Arjuna and us, I feel, at least me, that the grief or Vishada arose out of concern for Dharma and for God, and not at a worldly level, right? Though it may appear that his dilemma was that he doesn't want to shoot arrows at Bhishma Charya or Dronacharya or his kith and kin, but Swami clarifies that very clearly in several discourses, that he realized that this war is going to be waged, many will die, and as a consequence of their death, Dharma will suffer. And he wanted to protect morality and dharma and his faith in God, which turned into a form of yoga, which is that pure quest for Swami, for Sai Krishna, right? So I think that is the very big difference on the transformation of Arjuna's mind. And I feel that is one big thing for me. I didn't realize this till now. I always thought that it was a, uh, like you said, if you see in the Gita Vahini as well, Swami, even in chapter 10, we are talking about Vibhuti Yoga, and it goes on, right? And Krishna keeps coming back that I want to leave all this and go to the forest. I don't want to fight this battle. So I feel it is a great, it is an important transformation. And as we speak in Bhagavata Vahini, uh, this transformation is also happening in the mind of King Parikshit, I feel. Because as you said, character is power. And if you look at King Parikshit's position, mental makeup, the curse, as you said, Swami starts off only in chapter 24. That is almost more than 55% is over of Bhagavata Vahini, which basically he tries to establish and shows us the character of Parikshit. Because if 7 days is given for us, say that, and there are a lot of people terminally ill or people who go to palliative care, right? Who, who, and for if you put me also in this position, you become very tense and anxious. Leave alone death. We go for an interview, or we go for a particular function, or we go for a particular, we have to face situations in life. We have that anxiety, which is normal. And death and God are the only eternal truths, they say, right? So as we try to demystify this part of, are we ready for this crash course? I think King Parikshit gives us that answer, that he was in Shravanam mode only, if you think, right?
Yes.
But today in the 21st century, the kind of sensory stimulation we have, and when I say in a very positive way, that you have audio, you have video, you have text, and you have AR, VR, and all kind of metaverses and kind of augmented reality here. Like for example, if you go to Divya Smriti, which is the experience center, right, in Vrindavan, I have not been there, but I've heard a lot and seen a little bit. Uh, it shows you Swami in a very different way, and you can actually experience him, right? So I'm saying, if today you are given 7 days to live, uh, I think I think there, that's where we need to put ourselves and kind of stimulate that kind of, what would be our response to it, right? So the last point I wanted to mention is, in the early chapter, where King Parikshit says this, that after hearing all these episodes and anecdotes from the life of his grandparents, he says how fortunate I am to be born in this lineage, right? So, and I think we are also equally fortunate. We have got this lottery at a very big discount from Swami, right? Actually, this I borrowed this phrase from Dr. John Hislop in his book Conversations, or uh, not Conversations, I think, My Baba and I, that book. He says this point: we have got this lottery, or we have got this bounty with divine discount, right? So I think, yeah, as we go forward in this journey of Bhagavata Vahini, I think it becomes much more clearer what is expected from us. And thank you, Suman and brother Surya for
Surya.
this. Yeah.
Thanks a lot, brother. So beautiful insights. Yes, yeah, we need to be cognizant of truth. Today, as you told, we have a lot of things which are unlimited available. So we should not feel that we are unlimited. We are limited on this earth. So we should remember. So probably we should be cognizant of that truth always. We have limited time, limited time, limited time. And then what, I think we can use the best use of the time which we have. Just like, if you have someone tells you 7 days only you have, then how I'm going to use my time. So that matters. I think that's where we need to we always have that in mind, always, that our return tickets are booked. So we don't know the date, but someday we have to board the train. So Sridhar sir, yeah, your insights, please.
Sairam.
Sairam sir, Sairam.
I'm just lost, engrossed in the discussions. Very nice. There's some pertinent questions were thrown, and you started answering. A very nice way to connect with the Bhagavata Vahini through a question answer mode. One of the things which appealed to me, Surya said, we have different tools, internet, all kinds of chat GPT, so easy to look at a very wide array of things. And, actually, what happens is these, sometimes I dare to even say, these are weapons of mass destruction, as I said some time back in another session with you. The attachment is so strong. I'm talking about my own self. Many a times I find, after I reach home, I have a lot of plans to do, but then innocently get into WhatsApp to see what the messages are to be answered and get lost. And then we lose sight of our priorities. And then we mess up with our duties and obligations. And then blame it on Lord, why me? This why me becomes a justification of a weak mind who does not realize one's own responsibility first. Our swadharma is most important. When I am at work, I am obliged to my clients. When I am at seva, I must focus on that. I must, does not mean you one denies the other. You should, so this balance, what you were talking about, one of you, is also extremely important. So this attachment is what creates, and a very beautiful discussion you had on the attachment concept, the why this Vishada at all. Whether it is an attachment at a higher plane or a lower plane, an attachment, somewhere Swami had said, even in the spiritual world, an attachment could be like a golden chain instead of a silver chain or a iron chain. Everything is attachment.
Yeah.
The absolute total surrender that you are all, you are everything, you are the Antaryami Sai, the charioteer, and you are guiding me. At that sense of surrender, actually, in my mind, as I understand, it turns you inside. The normal victim, what you and me are, in the context that we are living in a very conditioned world. We have grown up based on what has been told to us, what we have seen, what we have heard, what we have understood, and we are totally conditioned. Not all are fortunate to have been Swami students, many of us not. Then these impacts are always there. So, but the moment you take every single challenge from the perspective of love, than perspective of I am doing, why this to me, you will start sympathizing with the opposite side also in a everyday transactional life. Somebody comes in, has hit your car. Yesterday it happened to me. And for a moment, reactive Sridhar got little angry, but quickly I recovered to say, poor fellow, you must have been in a hurry. It could have happened to anybody. It has happened to you. Maybe Swami is giving a test here to see whether you are still growing up or not. So this attachment is the moment you think I am doing, I am the doer, I am the enjoyer of the action.
And my
All
car.
the problems will continue. And the moment you surrender doership, the moment you surrender enjoyership, and allow Swami to preside, then many beautiful options, thoughts, solutions occur. That has been my life's experience. Sairam.
Nice. Yes, sir. Silent. Yeah, you would not have been concerned if he had hit someone else's car because of feeling that my car.
Yes.
That actually.
And
Yes,
that expression, happiness cannot come out of happiness.
yes.
Adversity is a great teacher. Adversity is actually opportunity.
Opportunity for God.
It's yes, a very, very powerful message which you have given today. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Sister Kritika, you'd like to share your thoughts?
Thank you so much, Sairam brother.
Sairam sister.
So, picking out from what you had given us as a recap of the previous session, since I wasn't a part of that. So when you said that spirituality typically meant just being, and then God will shower his grace on you. And then when you especially said losing to win, that reminded me of what Sridhar sir always tells us, that you will win or you will conquer only when you stoop. So only through love, then you actually have that bhava or that feeling of giving in, which again emerges from love, is when you actually win. So that is something which I could connect or relate to. And then when you also mentioned about how God glorifies his devotees and how he always puts them at a pedestal, even though when you've not really done anything much, and then God showers that credit on you. And that was also something which I could just kind of visualize, and the way Swami used to do it to us as students, and how that kind of creates all the more, that sense of responsibility which it should create in us and in our day-to-day conduct as well. So another thing which also struck me was when we were talking about Arjuna's despondency, and how from that emerged in a way Krishna's divine discourse or the gospel of the Gita. And when Surya brother was saying that when is it going to end, like when are these 24 chapters going to end, and when would the 7-day crash course come to us? I mean, why is Swami doing this to us? I mean, you were having that kind of dialogue with him. So that's when I could relate to this, that Swami used to keep telling in his discourses as well. When he speaks about the importance of the process, uh, relate leading up to the end, talks about sort of the procedure, and that ultimately coming to the purpose being, or the end being, making us understand the victory of good over evil, in a way, if we take the Ramayana or the Mahabharata for that matter. And how is it that means are more important, and do the means justify the end, and how the journey is more important than the destination in itself, the destination being fixed, but how the journey itself teaches us so many things. And for us to be able to appreciate that process is what I think Swami is putting us through, is what I felt from that kind of discussion which you had at that moment. And another thing which also struck me was that when we were talking about how in the most despondent of situations, when you feel helpless and you're just about to give in because you are having that conversation with God that I'm really not able to do anything, and you're at that last moment where you say that, okay, I don't think I can do anything more, and that's when God jumps in, and that is his opportunity to sort of take over and do what he feels is right for us. We often really, have this kind of discussion. This is what goes on in my mind sometimes, that why does it have to be this way? Why do things turn out this way? And sometimes you feel like the whole world is trying to, conspiring literally to make a fool of you. And why is everybody trying to behave this way and doing things which are not, it's not in sync with what I feel.
Yeah.
And why is it happening at the first place at all? You have that kind of mental dilemma, the kind of despondency, that situation, right, where you feel that something is not right, but why am I in that situation at the first place? Why does it have to be that way?
Yes.
And yeah, that kind of turmoil within which goes on. So from the discussion that we had today, I just got this sort of insight, saying that is when, maybe it is essential for us to change our perspective and sort of understand again from this journey per se, that point of view, saying that maybe I've been put in this kind of a situation for me to learn the lessons which I'm actually supposed to learn. And again, what can I do at this point? I think I need to do what I can, but beyond that point, maybe I should just leave it to God and give him an opportunity rather to take over and make things the way they are meant to be. So I just felt that. And yeah, there were many more things, but I don't know if I can sort of go on. So all in all, it was a great session, and I really appreciate brother, you and Surya brother, doing it for us. So thank you, Sarah.
Wonderful, sister. It's really wonderful to hear. Any more thoughts or insights, Brother Parikshit or Sridhar sir? Anything we have left or any observations in this chapter? So we can have a recap of all the 23, the next session. So probably we may be getting newer insights also, Swami may give. So that we are strong in our, this 23. The next is the traditional Bhagavatam would start.
Yeah. In summary, after listening, what we pick up from this evening is we should move away from the question why.
Yeah.
And move towards how.
How, correct.
And then surrender to him.
Yes.
And then he will start his work.
Yes, yes.
But when you are stuck to why, you are delaying his entry into you to
Absolutely.
tell you how. That seems to be the
Absolutely.
summary.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Till that lowest point, I think, no, we have that ego and we don't give it to him mostly. So we think that I can do it, I can manage it, I can do it. And only at that point, I think, yeah, we'll give the reins to him. Wonderful, sir. Anything more, Parishit, brother, before closing?
No, nothing much. I think what has been spoken. I think eagerly waiting for the next chapter.
Right. So next session will be our revision of all these 23, which will be on April 2nd. So with this, we close today's session. Asatoma. Asatoma Sadgamaya Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritangamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Samastalokaah Sukhino Bhavantu. Samastalokaah Sukhino Bhavantu. Samastalokaah Sukhino Bhavantu. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. जय बोलो भगवान श्री सत्य साई बाबा जी की जय. Thank you all. Sai Ram.
Sai Ram, Sai
Sai Ram.
Sai Ram, sister.
Sai Ram.
Sai Ram, brother.